Welcome to Yoga, Santa Barbara Style. This program showcases Santa Barbara area yoga teachers by presenting a brief interview along with a 25-minute practice featuring the guest instructor. Today, our guest will be Gail Parker. Gail currently teaches at Yoga Soup. My name is Ray Kolbe, and I'm the host of Yoga, Santa Barbara Style. I've been practicing yoga for a number of years, and I'm here to share my passion for yoga with you. We've got a great show for you today. In addition to our yoga sequence and interview, I'll present the Ujayi Pranayama breathing technique, and we'll break down the pose Virabhadrasana II. Sara Remick will fill us in on the Yoga Gives Back program, and she'll give us some yummy food for thought highlighting probiotics. You'll want to have a pen and paper handy for this one. So let's get right to it. Here's Sara with Yoga News.
Thank you, Ray. Giving back is an important theme for a yogi, whether it be giving back to your school or community, giving back to nature, or in your relationships with other people. Yoga Gives Back is a non-profit organization dedicated to raising awareness and funds in order to alleviate poverty in India. The organization was started in Los Angeles in 2007 out of determination to find a way for the U.S. yoga community, which generates over $6 billion per year, to help the poorest people in the country that essentially gave birth to yoga. Many charitable organizations have emerged from within the yoga community, but Yoga Gives Back specifically targets and supports struggling women in India. They fund programs to lend small loans to women who are otherwise excluded from the conventional banking and financial systems. There are vocational training programs, microloans, and many other opportunities in place through this group. Yoga Gives Back is now a rapidly growing global community of volunteers, students, teachers, and advisors who work tirelessly by holding events, classes, distributing information, and working hard to help change lives. Author Philip Goldberg aims to give back with his multimedia project, The Great Yogic Transmission: How India Changed Our World. This project included audiovisual presentations, lively discussion, and deep experiential practices like meditation and chanting. Using multimedia to express the influences of revered teachers like Swami Satchidananda, Yogananda Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Swami Muktanandana, and others whose impact has been profound, as well as gifted Westerners like the Beatles and Ram Dass, who transmitted these teachings in unique and masterful ways, you will get a little deeper into the authentic yogic traditions. To quote, "You will learn how to integrate the yogic path into your everyday life by navigating the many paradoxes that arise over work, money, relationships, teachers, and other issues. You will come away with an expanded vision of the sublime yogic legacy, a fresh perspective on your own personal evolution, and a repertoire of practices to accelerate your progress to higher realization." Phew, that sounds incredible. The multimedia project was put together for an event that happened back in May, with all proceeds benefiting Yoga Gives Back. But you can still check out Philip Goldberg's latest book from which the project was born, American Veda: How Indian Spirituality Changed the West. Check out philipgoldberg.com for more information, or check out yogagivesback.org to learn more about that organization.
Ujayi means rising victoriously. When practiced regularly, the chest and torso remain up, giving the practitioner a look of pride. This is also good for the lower back and reduces the mass around the waistline. Prana is life force, and pranayama is the practice of breathing in a particular way, what we call breath work. Ujayi Pranayama is the root of yoga breathing techniques. It is the foundation of proper breathing and one of the most commonly practiced yoga breathing techniques. In Ujayi Pranayama, the body becomes a musical instrument. The ears and mind continually listening and fine-tuning this instrument to create the perfect sounds during inhalation and exhalation. Many yoga practitioners believe that our life is measured by the amount of breaths that are taken. For this reason, Ujayi is used to lengthen the breath and lengthen the span of life. An unsteady breath leads to an unsteady mind. Therefore, Ujayi is also practiced to smooth the flow of breath and harmonize the breathing rhythms. Ujayi is especially known for the soft hissing sound the breather makes by directing her inhales and exhales over the back of her throat. Try this in order to learn how. Inhale through the nose, then exhale slowly through a wide open mouth. Direct the outgoing breath slowly across the back of your throat with a drawn out ah sound. Repeat several times, then close your mouth. Now, as you both inhale and exhale through your nose, direct the breath again slowly across the back of your throat. Ideally, this will create, and you should hear, a soft hissing sound, like a gentle ocean wave. This sound, called a japa mantra, or the unspoken mantra, serves three purposes. It helps to slow the breath down, which is exactly what we want for Ujayi and asana, that is during your yoga practice, to focus awareness on the breath and prevent your mind from wandering, and to regulate by continually monitoring and adjusting the evenness of the sound, the smooth flow of breath. And of course, this is another important element of Ujayi in your yoga practice. Start with 5 to 8 minutes of Ujayi practice. Gradually increase your time to 10 to 15 minutes. When you've finished, return to normal breathing for a minute or two, then lie down in Shavasana, corpse pose, for a few minutes. Ujayi is the foundation of many other breathing techniques. The ability to maintain Ujayi throughout your yoga practice is at least as important as the asana or posture. So practice Ujayi Pranayama and experience this victory breath firsthand. When you're able to maintain smooth Ujayi Pranayama throughout your yoga practice, you'll find that your yoga practice has been elevated to a new level. In peace and love, Namaste. Today our guest is Gail Parker. Gail grew up in New York City and landed in Paris at 18, where her career in fashion took off, working for Ralph Lauren and Yves Saint Laurent. But it was not until her daughter, who graduated from Harvard with honors, decided that she wanted nothing more than to be a yoga teacher, that Gail took her first Iyengar yoga class at the Iyengar Institute in New York, and Mary Dunn became her teacher for many years. Gail lived in Kenya for 2 years, where she taught young children and women yoga. She moved to Northern California, where Tony Briggs, Ramanand Patel, and Judith Lassiter became her teachers. 2 other amazing teachers, Patricia Sullivan and Sara Remick, both helped Gail practice restorative yoga throughout her treatment and recovery from lymphoma. In 2008, Gail created Clothespin as her creative juices were flowing once again. But she was now determined to be mindful about our planet and how to interpret and accommodate that into her new designs and lifestyle. This is when Gail truly realized that yoga is a lifestyle. And when she later moved to Los Angeles, she began studying with Eric Schiffman and Lisa Wolford. Gail believes that all her vast and varied experience has led her to a place of stillness, inspiration, gratitude, and joy, which she wishes to share with all those who cross her path. Welcome, Gail.
Thank you for having me.
How long have you been practicing yoga?
Almost 40 years.
And how long have you been teaching yoga?
I've only been teaching yoga for 8 years, 8 or 9 years. I started teaching in Northern California after I recovered from my cancer. And I was teaching in a small town in West Marin called Point Reyes. And then I stopped teaching when I moved back to Los Angeles, and I started teaching again when I moved out here about a year ago.
So you're new to Santa Barbara?
I'm new to Santa Barbara, yeah. I love it here. Yeah, it's a great place to be, a wonderful place to be.
What do you consider to be the greatest benefits associated with yoga?
So the thing that for me that yoga does is it really keeps me very present with my body, and in keeping me present with my body, it keeps me very present with my state of mind. And the meditation practice that I incorporate into my daily life just instills for me and inside of me an appreciation of life in general.
What do you consider to be the biggest risks associated with yoga?
Is that yoga has become so mainstream in this country. It's being taught in so many places, and it's become, there's so many varieties of it. And I think all of that is great. I think the more people that practice yoga, the better. But there are a lot of people that are teaching yoga to people that have not had the beginner introductory course. And so I think there are a lot of injuries that are happening in yoga that are very unnecessarily happening. And in a way, it's on some levels giving yoga a bad name. There was an article I read in the New York Times several months ago that just talked about how hospitals, emergency rooms were getting a lot of yoga injuries. And where was that coming from? I think that's coming from this huge impact in offering yoga classes because there is such an interest. But again, the students have not had the foundation, the groundwork. And without the foundation and the groundwork in a yoga practice, I think you can be very susceptible to injury. So one has to be careful about that. So I think that's the only risk. Otherwise, I think there's nothing but benefit.
What style of yoga do you teach?
The yoga that I teach is, I'm not certified as an Iyengar teacher. I'd say 98% of the yoga that I've practiced in my life has been Iyengar yoga. And I am attracted to that because it's so grounded in the foundation. It's so disciplined. Guruji, Mr. Iyengar, is 93 years old and he still practices for 4 hours every day. I studied ballet in New York when I was a young child, and it's very disciplined, classic ballet. And I also took horseback riding when I was a young child, and that's very disciplined, English riding. So I think for me, I'm attracted to that. I'm attracted to that discipline. I think that for a lot of people, they'll go to yoga for a workout and for a vinyasa flow, and you don't get that in Iyengar. What you get is much more heady. It's much more using your mind you'll say phrases such as work from the back of your brain, work from the back of your raise your inner arches to the back of the center of your knee. I mean, things that you actually physically can't do, but your mind is so involved in imagining that it really makes your postures just incredibly astute. I think it's harder for men too, just in general. I mean, most of my students and most of the men I know are very stiff. Stretching was not a part of your exercise routine. So men, when they get to be 25, 26, and I have had younger students who come in at that age, and they can barely, and they're very strong athletic bodies, and they can barely bend their heads over to touch. I mean, when you say bend over and try and bring your hands to the ground, they can barely bring their heads further down than this.
Yeah.
So it's so important for these guys to be doing it. It's almost, I'd say, without trying to sound sexist, I almost think it's more important for men to be practicing yoga, just because women, I think, just by the nature of our bodies, we're more flexible.
Of course.
And men really need it.
Yeah. Yes, and I think that yoga helps women to develop the strength
exactly.
that they tend to lack, and
Exactly.
it helps men to develop the flexibility that they lack.
I think that's a very appropriate way to put it. Yeah.
Why do you teach yoga?
I teach yoga because I feel very blessed. I feel that I have had the incredible luck and grace of having some of the best yoga teachers in the world. My teachers now, Eric Schiffman and Lisa Walford, are just incredible teachers. And Mary Dunn was an amazing teacher. She's now passed, but she was an amazing teacher. Judith Lassiter, I call her the queen of restorative yoga, is amazing. Ramanand Patel, Tony Briggs, all of these people drilled me it took me through the early stages into the more intermediate stages, into the latter stages Even when I was in treatment for cancer, I was practicing my yoga. It got me through. The yoga really helped me heal from my cancer more than anything else, more than any alternative therapy that I did. And so because I survived so much, and because it also has given me so much of a foundation in my lifestyle, as far as grounding me, I felt that I wanted to share it with other people.
Besides yoga, what are your favorite activities? I mean, obviously you mentioned grandchildren, that has to be among them. But...
My family, my grandchildren who are just here. I've got an 8-year-old grandson and a 3-year-old granddaughter. I love hiking. I love hiking and reading, hiking, music. I adore music. So, so music, hiking, I'm at the beach. I love the beach. I boogie board. I tried surfing, but was not too great at that. I'm taking paddle boarding or paddle surfing. Stand-up paddle boarding lessons now, yeah, because I love the ocean. And there are dolphins out here to boot.
Oh, yeah.
So being out there and seeing the dolphins around you is pretty spectacular. And my clothing. Oh, hello. I design clothes. I keep forgetting about that. I have my line clothespin, which has been around since 2008. And I have a very strong clientele. I'm selling to a few stores locally and in Los Angeles. And I've spent the past year, since I've been teaching mainly, refocusing on how I want to restructure that company. So that company is going to be relaunched in about a month. So when I started Clothespin, my greatest desire was to make clothing that would not only be flattering for women and beautiful and sustainable, but that it would be very comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I think the influence that yoga has had is that I want to be able to make clothing that you can, if you want to do Baddha Konasana or Trikonasana, it's not yoga clothing, but it's comfortable enough that if you want to sit on the ground cross-legged barefoot, you can do that. And when I do the marketing for my clothing line, it's very much done with a barefoot look.
What excites you about yoga?
So what excites me about it is the practice itself, is that it's just always new. It's always fresh. And the more you do it, the more you realize how little you know about it.
If we want to find out what you're doing, either whether it be in clothing design or in your yoga practice, yoga teaching, is there a website? Do you have some place where we can go to find out what you're up to?
Yes. You can go to my website, which is Clothespin, spelled Clothespin, like a clothespin, and then my name, Gail, Gale Parker, Parker, clothespingailparker.com. is my website.
Well, Gail, thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's really my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's really been lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Think straight up on your sit bones. Lift up through your sternum. Reach your shoulders back up and down away from your ears. Breathe, soften your facial features. Bring your hands to your chest and lift up through your sternum. Close your eyes and go inwards. Let your breathing be soft, effortless, circuitous. And let's say 3 invocations together. 3 ohms together, and then call and response the invocation to Lord Patanjali. So with a deep inhalation, Yogena chatasya badena vacham Malam charyasya chavaitakenam Yopa karotam pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranjalira natosmi. Abahu pushakaram. Shanka chakra siddharinam. Sahasra shirsam shvetam. Pranamami Patanjalim. Hari Om. And lowering your head, give thanks to all of the teachers that have come before you, and give thanks to Lord Patanjali. Drop your hands to your thighs, palms facing upwards. Slowly lift up your head and gently open up your eyes. So let's all stand up. You can move your props to the side, and we'll stand in Tadasana, which is mountain pose. So stand with your feet together, so with your mat evenly placed on the ground. Take your feet, place your toes together, spread all of your feet dynamically and evenly on the mat. Press your heels down, press through your femurs and your thigh bones. Take your buttocks and press your buttocks back and down, and as you press your buttocks back and down, press your thigh bones back towards your buttocks. This is Urdhva Tadasana, which means mountain pose with your arms upward. So everybody do this, just take your arms up. And as you extend your arms up, really reach for the ceiling. Imagine that your arm is starting from the very back, the base of your shoulder blade. So extend your arms as if your arms are your leg limbs. Really extend them up and down and up and down and again up and down and up and down. This time raise them up, cross your fingers, reverse the cross of your hands, place it on your hand, and then extend through your arms, straighten your arms, push through your elbows. If your ribs are poking out, which mine are, pull them back in, pull your belly in. Vanessa, make your arms go back a little bit further behind your ears. Press, and then take your hands back onto your head, reverse the crossing of your fingers, and re-extend your arms up. And then release. Good. Now we'll do Gomukhasana. So again, arms extend up and release them down. Arms extend up, release them down. Arms extend up. This time keep your right arm up. Bring your left arm behind your back. Wiggle it up. And then go for the grab. If you need a belt, I'll come around and give you a belt. And go for the grab with both of your hands. Now, as you're doing this, none of you need belts. Notice that my elbow is not sticking out, Vanessa. That's it. You want to rotate your upper arm in towards your face and have your elbow reaching up towards the ceiling. And release. And again, inhale, arms up, and release. Inhale, arms up, and release. Inhale, arms up, and release. Last time up. This time keep your left arm up, walk your right arm behind your back, wiggle your arm as far up as it'll go, and then go for the grab. Again, as you're grabbing your arm, Vanessa, try and bring your elbow in. No, face me. Oh, do you need a strap? Okay. Try and rotate your upper arm inward. There you go. And rotate your upper arm more inward with your elbow pointing up towards the ceiling. Good. And then release. Now take your arms by your side, come back into Tadasana. Take your hands to your chest. Inhale, exhale, jump, or step your feet very wide. Extend your arms. Now everybody turn your palms up Reach your arms and extend your arms way overhead as if you're going to grab the tubes, those cylinders that are up on the ceiling. And again, imagine that your arms are starting at the very base of where your shoulder blades are. Keep that extension. Don't loosen it at all. Keep that extension and lower your arms out. Turn your palms this way so they're facing down. Straighten, elongate through your arms. Take your right foot and turn it to the front of the room. Kick your left heel back. Look over your right hand. Now readjust your hips. Everybody's hips have gone towards the windows. Readjust your hips so your hips are both facing me. And then for Trikonasana, extend, extend, extend through your front arm, over your front leg, and then come down into Trikonasana with your hand on your shin, onto a brick, or onto the floor. Now everybody take your extended arm and place your extended arm on your waist, on your left waist. And with your hand, take your hip and move your left waist back. Then walk your hand up to your left shoulder, and with your hand, bring your left shoulder back and down. And then think of moving your right shoulder back and down again as well. And now extend your arm as you had done before, reaching for the ceiling, energizing through your fingers, and look up at your hand. Come up to standing, and then take your feet to the front, and this time kick out your left foot, take your right heel back. Ensure that the front heel is in line with the back arch of your foot. Extend your arms straight out. Take both of your hips and have both of your hip bones pointing towards me. Elongate through your arms. Energize the outer edge of your back foot. Rotate your front femur counterclockwise. Rotate your back femur clockwise. And then stretch out towards the wall. Keep stretching, keep stretching, keep stretching until you can't go any further, and then come down. Come down to your shin, to the brick, to your ankle, or to the floor. Take your right hand, put it on your right hip. Move your right hip back. Walk your hand up to your right shoulder. Move your right shoulder back. Take your right arm up, and just for a second, take your right arm back. And be a little bit playful here with your arm. Just move it all around and get some motion in that arm. Get the cricks out of it. And then when you're ready, when your body tells you it's time, straighten your arm and look up and make the pose beautiful. And as you do that, bring your left ribs around to the front. And as you bring your left ribs around to the front, narrow your stance as if there was a wall coming in front of you and a wall coming behind you, and it was pressuring you to make you as narrow and as lean as possible. And then pushing into your front foot, come up, arms straight out, take your left foot, turn it to the front, and then jump or step your feet together and come back into Tadasana. Take your hands to your chest, inhale, exhale, jump out. Take your right foot out, kick your left heel back. Take a brick beside you if you need it for bent knee, side angle pose. Look out towards your left hand. Again, adjust your hips so your hips are facing me. Chloe, that's it, good. And then slowly extend out, bending your front leg. Come down into your bent knee position, extend out, extend out, extend thoroughly through your back leg, through the side edge of your back foot. Then place your right hand on the brick. Press your leg and your shin against your arm. Bend down into your square, re-energize your back leg, and then take your arm and swing it over your head. Try and look at your armpit as you look up inside your arm. Bend down a little bit further, stretch it out a little bit more, and again try and bring your right ribs around towards the front, and as you do that, turn and look up at your arm even more. And then push into your front foot, come up, Arms out. Take your right foot out, your left foot, excuse me. Kick your left heel back. And then bend into your square deeply. Take your left hand down beside your foot. Bend down a little bit deeper. Energize the back side of your back leg. And then take your arm up and over your head and look under your armpit. Really stretch. Try and bring your left ribs around. Soften your belly, soften your ribs, stretch through your arms, go deeper with your leg, press into the exterior of your back leg. And then pressing into your front foot, come up. Now take your feet and turn your feet forward and take a wide stance. Take your hands to your waist, shrug your shoulders back down away from your ears, and then with your chin, normal height, inhale, shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Exhale, look up. Try and let your head come back for a little back bend. Tighten your buttocks, tighten your femurs, and then from your hips, hinge forward with a straight back. Come down with a straight back. Once you're down with a straight back, if you need a brick, take a brick. Otherwise, put your hands right under your shoulders. Shoulders width apart. Straight back. Look up with your head a little bit. Everybody looks great. Hold it, breathe. Now really feel the energy coming from the outside of your hip all the way towards the outer edge of your foot to the outer edge of your shin towards the outer edge of your foot. And press extensively through the outer edge of each foot, raising your inner arches. Now from here, walk your hands back, still straight arms, still straight back, and try and keeping your arms straight, straight back, head up. Bring your arms back, your hands back as far as they'll go before you take your head down. And then walk your hands back all the way, bending your elbows to a 45-degree angle and taking the crown of your head down to the mat, shrugging your shoulders away from your ears, pressing your knees straight, pressing your feet into the floor actively. And then come to a straight back. Move your hands out under your shoulders just to where we started. Shrug your shoulders away from your ears again. Re-energize your legs. Lift your head up. And then take your hands to your hips, to your waist. And pressing into your legs, come up straight back. And then heel toe, walk your feet into each other. Good. How's everybody? Good? Good. Tadasana. Arms at your chest, jump or step wide. Arms out, hips towards me. Stretch towards the windows. Go down and come into Trikonasana. Just come straight into Trikonasana. Take your left hand, put it on your left hip. Take a giant step in. Take your left hand out about a foot in front of your right foot. Further, Vanessa, further in front, good. And come up with your left leg. Now you want to make sure that the leg is even with your hip. Try and flatten your hand on that. That's it. So you've got, even bring your hand back further so that it's totally flat, good. And flex through your, go for the grab of your foot. And then when you're done with the grab of your foot, straighten your leg. Come into the classic posture. Point your toe, bend your front knee, reach back with your back leg as much as you can. Be quiet and come into Trikonasana. Oopsie. And then stand up to straight. And we'll do the other side. Okay, so arms are out. Take your left leg to the front, kick your right heel back. Make sure the arch of your front foot is in line with the heel of your front foot is in line with the arch of your back foot. Then come into Trikonasana. Take your right hand, put it onto your right waist. Take a giant step in with your right foot. Take your left hand out about a foot and 6 inches in front of your leg and bring your right leg up. Press into your standing leg. If your standing leg is wobbling, do not allow it to wobble. Tell your leg to stop moving. There you go, you can will it. Put your hand up, Miss Brick, because your leg is coming up too high. So put your hand flat like that on the brick. Now bring your leg up. That's much better for you. Perfect. Now take your hand here, take your arm up, try and bring your ribs around and look up at your hand. I've got you. Beautiful. Beautiful. Take your leg down a little bit lower. Good. Chloe, you can go for the grab whenever you want. Then point your foot, bend your front knee and stretch way back, keeping your knee bent. Straighten your front leg and come into Trikonasana to finish the posture. Look up at your hand and come up. Everybody take your feet hips width apart. Inhale, raise your arms way up. Cross your elbows. Again, extend through your arms. And from your hips, extend forward and come into your first Uttanasana. Extend forward, go down, go down, go down, and hang down as deep as you can. Then take your hands to your waist and slowly come up, vertebrae by vertebrae. Take your feet together in Tadasana, hands to your chest, jump or step your feet wide. Take your right foot out, left heel back, and come into Warrior Two. And then come up, just as we did with our arms. And down, and up, and flexion, and up, and down. Press down further, girls. And down. Now come down into your lowest square and stay there. Take your shoulders back and down. Elongate through your arms. Press through the exterior edge of your back foot. Come down lower. And then come up and rotate your feet. Other side. Look out over your hand. Inhale, exhale, bend down. Just stay down for a minute. Press into your foot, straighten your leg. And then flexion. Down and up. And down and up. And down and up. Go deep down. Keep your arms and your shoulders in one spot as you just move your legs. Breathe. Soften your facial features, soften your inner ears. Make it graceful. Make it holy. You're a warrior. You're a holy warrior going into battle. Now keep it down, go lower. Go lower. And then come up. Take your feet together. Now take your feet hips width apart. Raise your hands up. And from your waist, hinge forward. And take your hands, if you can, to either side of your foot and let your head release down into Uttanasana. Shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Then take your hands to your waist, elbows pointed back towards the wall behind you, and come up slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae. Good. How's everybody feeling? Warm? Happy? Good. So let's all sit on the floor. And you can turn your mats this way. So cross your legs, come onto your knees, hands and knees. Then cross your legs behind you. And then with your legs crossed behind you, just come and sit onto your buttocks, and then you're in Dandasana. Straighten your legs. Is everybody flexible enough to touch your toes? Okay, so nobody needs to sit on a blanket. Take the flesh of your buttocks, lift it up, raise it behind you so you're on your sit bones. Flex your feet actively. Inhale, raise your arms, extend them just as we did before. Clasp your hands, take them on the top of your head. Top of your head. And then inhale deeply, and as you exhale, extend your arms straight up. Push through your elbows, bring your arms behind your head, raise up through your sternum, and then release your arms and go for your toes, keeping a flat back. So grab your toes, shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Then take your elbows out to the side, try and keep a flat back as long as you can, come forward. And when you can't keep a flat back anymore, bend over your legs. If you want, you can hold onto your wrist or just hold onto your toes. And then bend down and let your head just reach down. And get a blanket for your head for Shavasana. So lie down with your neck and your head on the blanket. You are a beautiful flower in the process of blossoming every second. And if you can love yourself and be present with that with yourself and feel that love, roll onto your right side and then using your left arm, push yourself up to a seated posture. Come up onto your blanket and sit in any cross-legged, comfortable position you like. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.
The pose today is Virabhadrasana II, also known as Warrior II. The benefits of this pose include strengthening the legs and abdomen, opening the hips, and building confidence. The only risks associated with this pose are around the knees, the lower back, and the groins, and we'll discuss how to avoid those risks in this pose. The foundation of this pose begins with the legs wide enough apart so that when the front thigh is parallel to the floor, the knee is over the ankle. It's important that the front knee not go farther forward than the front ankle. The front leg is turned out 90 degrees, with the back foot turned slightly in. The front heel is in line with the back arch. Put the weight in the center of the front heel and the outer edge of the back foot. Lift arches and ankles. Bend the front knee to a 90-degree angle so that the thigh is parallel to the floor and the shin is perpendicular to the floor. Stack the knee over the ankle. And now I'll pause briefly to give you an opportunity to switch sides. Bend the front knee to a 90-degree angle so that the thigh is parallel to the floor and the shin is perpendicular to the floor. Stack the knee over the ankle. Align the knee with the second toe. Move the front shin back towards the calf to shift the weight onto the heel of the front leg. Descend the femur to make room in the hip socket. Externally rotate the thigh at the hip socket by opening the inner thigh out toward the knee as you draw the outer thigh back into the hip. Firm the buttock and draw the sitting bone under the body. With the back leg, straighten the leg by engaging the quadricep. Lift the inner thigh up to the ceiling to activate the back leg and take weight off the front leg. Press the femur back to energize the leg without locking the knee. Release the pubic bone and tailbone equally toward the floor so the lower back is neither arched nor tucked. Lift the front hip off the front thigh and deepen the crease of the back hip so the pelvis is not spilling toward the front thigh. Lift the frontal hip bones so that the belly is toned, but not so much that the lumbar curve is flattened. Do not square the hips. Allow the back hip to land where it needs to when the back leg is in Tadasana and the torso is square. So your hips are parallel with the long edge of the mat. Elongate all four sides of the waist. Once again, I'll pause briefly to give you an opportunity to switch sides. So your hips are parallel with the long edge of the mat. Elongate all four sides of the waist. Lift the sternum, lift the back ribs, lift the core of the body up as you soften the front ribs. Lift the sternum, soften the front ribs, spread across the collarbones. Widen the bottom edges of the shoulder blades. Draw the shoulders and trapezius muscles away from the neck. Straighten the arms. Hug the biceps and triceps to the bone. Extend the arms from the action of spreading the shoulder blades like a pair of wings. Keep the arms on the same plane as the torso to help front and back bodies widen equally. Energize the back arm to mitigate the tendency to lean over the front leg. Turn the neck and look toward the front hand. Sides of the neck lengthen. Ensure that your knee is in line with the second toe. If your stance is too narrow, your knee will extend beyond the ankle. If your buttocks are protruding back, begin by lifting the front hip off the front thigh and deepen the crease of the back hip. And lift the frontal hip bones. It is common for the torso to lean over the front leg. In order to counteract that tendency, lift the front hip off the front thigh and deepen the crease of the back hip. Release the pubic bone and tailbone equally down towards the ground. This pose can be modified by placing the back heel at a wall. This also may be done seated in a chair or having the back to a wall.
Welcome to Food for Thought. There's a lot of interesting information in this segment today, so if you'd like to take notes, then now would be a good time to grab a paper and pen. Cultured foods have been a part of the human diet since the beginning of time. You can't discuss culturing or fermenting without discussing probiotics, so let's start with those. According to the World Health Organization, probiotics are live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. Essentially, they are the healthy or beneficial bacteria that live in and on our bodies. It is said that there are as many as 100 trillion bacteria comprised of 1,000 different species or strains in the intestinal flora alone. Research shows that these beneficial bacteria assist in proper digestion and assimilation of nutrients as they help produce enzymes. They stimulate the immune system. Did you know that 70% of the body's immune system response originates in the gut? They produce antimicrobial substances, and they compete against other microorganisms trying to invade. The healthy bacteria in the intestine are the first line of defense against microbes and other infectious bugs. When under attack, the bacteria fling themselves to the intestinal wall and stick there. You can see them right there. They do this to reinforce the physical barrier and to keep the pathogens from adhering. They also compete directly with the pathogens for the nutrients found at that spot, essentially starving the pathogens out. And while we know that these helpful little bacteria are here to help keep us in balance, there are so many factors that can reduce the amount of beneficial bacteria we've got to work with. The overconsumption of processed food and modern preparations, antibiotic use and chemicals, pollution, poor diet, stress, all of these can wreak havoc on the beneficial bacteria in our bodies. Getting your probiotics through supplementation, either in liquid or capsule, is incredibly beneficial, and there are some really great products on the market, all with varying strains and quantities, delivery systems, and quality. And while I do very much love and value the use of probiotic supplements, and I take them myself today, I would like to discuss getting probiotics through our diet. If you're interested in more information on supplementation, feel free to email me at sarah@foodforthoughtcounseling.com, and we can set up a free consultation. But now, on to culturing. The culturing of food has been going on for at least 6,000 years. There are thousands of traditional cultured foods, most commonly consumed yogurt, wine, beer, bread, mead, and kefir. And even deeper and older than that, we have our very own digestive systems that are constructed on the process of culturing. Cultured food is basically fermented food. It's the chemical process of breaking down complex substances into more simple parts, usually occurring with the help of fungi, bacteria like Lactobacillus acidophilus, bifidus, or yeast such as brewer's yeast. There are many common cultured foods here in the States that you may not even think about being cultured. Yogurt, for one. We all pretty much know that one. What about your morning cup of coffee? The premium coffees of the world that have that rich aroma and flavor, the ones that go through the wet processing of the premium beans that involves 14 to 18 hours of fermentation by microflora like lactic acid bacteria and beneficial yeasts that yields coffee's health-enhancing antioxidant profile. Perhaps you have a yogurt as a mid-morning snack with which you will be boosting your good bacteria. Maybe for lunch you have a Reuben sandwich layered with raw sauerkraut. Sauerkraut, coming to us from its cousin Korea's kimchi, is a nutrient-rich fermented cabbage dish that's easy to digest and chock full of probiotic activity. And it's so simple you can make your own at home. Grind up fresh cabbage, place it in a sanitary container, and maintain it at room temperature. Maybe you'll be so proud of yourself for making your own sauerkraut that you'll want a martini. Well, over 35 different strains of Lactobacillus plantarum have been identified in the Spanish green olive fermentation medium. And how about we top all that off with some chocolate? Chocolate is fermented? Of course! Cacao is a fruit that is white and silky, but the chocolate does not come from the fruit. Cocoa comes from raw cacao beans that are astringent and bitter. On cacao plantations all over the world, workers harvest the fruit pods, cut them open, and leave them to gather airborne yeasts and bacteria. The microorganisms ferment the cacao pulp and transform the bitter beans, making them antioxidant-rich, full of flavor, and ready to be turned into chocolate. Research suggests that cocoa is rich in flavonols that help regulate blood pressure and maintain cardiovascular health. Cultured beverage kefir has been consumed by the villagers of the remote Caucasus Mountains for thousands of years. Kefir contains an array of B vitamins, amino acids, calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. There's Yakult, a fermented milk drink with over 15 million bottles consumed daily in Japan. When you go out for sushi, you may start with a bowl of miso soup. Miso is fermented soybean, the fermenting which makes it rich in isoflavones considered to be cancer preventative. I'm not a huge fan of soy, but in its fermented state, it has profound benefits. In hundreds of foods worldwide, the same story of raw foods fermenting into flavorful, aromatic, nourishing, antioxidant-rich, easy-to-digest foods is repeated. The list of fermented foods we commonly eat is extensive, and it includes not only the foods we already talked about, but also raw milk, cheeses, wine, sourdough bread, and vanilla, as well as some obscure foods you've probably never heard of. Like sora, germinated and cooked maize from Peru, or idli, from rice grits and black gram powder eaten in India, or balu balu, a fermented shrimp, rice, and salt mixture eaten in the Philippines, or tapache from Mexico, made of maize and pineapple, apples, or oranges. I could go on and on about the research and wisdom behind these magnificent bacteria, the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer activity, the bioavailability, the cardiovascular benefits, the immune enhancement, the detoxifying properties. The list literally goes on and on. There is a ton of information out there. I encourage you to introduce more and new fermented foods and beverages into your diet. If you'd like more information on probiotic supplementation, how or where to purchase cultured foods, or preparing cultured foods at home, please visit my website at foodforthoughtcounseling.com. The incorporation of probiotics into the diet, whether in supplement form or cultured food form, can provoke deep and profound benefits to your health and well-being. I'm Sara Remick, and this has been Food for Thought for Yoga, Santa Barbara style. In vibrant health and plentiful beneficial bacteria, be well.
We've got another great show lined up for you next week.
In Yoga News, I will discuss all of the wonderful opportunities for teacher trainings that we have here in Santa Barbara. And the Food for Thought will discuss the wonderful medicinal world of aloe vera.
And our guest next week is Marie Thorne Thompson, who teaches at Yoga Soup and Cathedral Oaks Athletic Club. And I'll break down the pose Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. And we'll begin a discussion of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And Sara, thank you so much for the information on aloe vera. For years I've been using aloe vera as an aftershave lotion.
Oh, wonderful. Here's a hint for all you men out there.
It works well. And thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Until next week, namaste.
Namaste.